In this tutorial, let us learn about functions in C++. What is function? Function is a block of code that performs a specific task. Actually, functions has got two types. One is a predefined function, another one is a user-defined function. These predefined functions are the functions that comes with a system. Example for the predefined function is a main function. That function comes with a system. It's an inbuilt function. Even there is a function name called pow. So in case if you wanted to find out the power of any number, we use pow as a function. So this one is also an inbuilt function or a library function. So these functions we call them as a predefined functions, the functions that comes with the system. Another type is a user defined function. User defined functions are nothing but programmers are the one who is going to define their own function. That is called user defined function. Now in C++, functions has got three important things. First one is a function declaration, second one is a function definition, third one is a function calling. Now what is function declaration? Function declaration, it tells the compiler about the function name, return type and parameters. When it comes to the function definition will provide the actual body of the function, and function calling is nothing but calling the function from the main function. So these plays the vital role when it comes to the function in C++. Now let us have a look at the syntax of how to define a function in C++. Here is the syntax. The function syntax will start with the return type. Return type is nothing but a function may return a value. So the return type is the data type of the value the function returns. Then the next one is the function name. Function name is nothing but the name of the function. This is going to be a user defined function, so it can be anything. Inside it is going to have an optional parameters. So what is this parameters? It's like a placeholder. When a function is invoked, you pass a value to the parameter. The value that you pass is referred as an argument. Here we are going to have the body of the statement. Body of the statement is nothing but we can also call them as a function body. Here is the place where we are going to write the actual logic for the function. So this is how the syntax of the function would look like. Now let us jump into the program so that we would know what is function and what is the use of function. Now I am going to explain you the concept of functions and the need of function using this simple program. So what I am going to do here, I am going to create a simple program that perform an arithmetic operation. So let me say I am going to create two variables, num1 and num2, and then let's say I am going to ask my user to enter the values for these variables num1 and num2. So this is going to be cout. Then user will enter the values. Actually they are going to enter two values because I need to find out the value for the num1 variable as well as I need to find out the value for the num2 variable. So I'm going to have first cin that will collect the num1 variable, and then I'm going to have cin again that will collect the value for the num2 variable. Now what I'm going to do, simply I'm going to write a function to add, subtract and multiplication. So cout, here I'm going to display the message as addition. The addition that we are going to perform here is adding the num1 variable with num2 variable, right? So I'm going to say num1 plus num2. Let me just copy and paste for the rest of the operation. Now let me run this program to see the result. When I run this one, it's going to ask me to enter the values. I'm going to enter the first value was 9, second value was 7. So it's going to perform all the arithmetic operation. The addition operation gives me a result as 16, subtraction is 2, multiplication is 63, and the division operation is 1, just because of the data type integer. If I put float here, you will even see the decimal value for that subtraction. In case if you want to say 9 as a first number, 7 as a second number, as you can see them here, because of the float it's even giving me a decimal value. Now the question here is, let's say here in this case we just have 4 operations, then we have managed to write all the operations within the main function. Let's say in a real world scenario where we may need to solve 1000 tasks. In that case, do you think that writing all the 1000 tasks within this main function is a good practice. Yes, it is possible. You can have all the operations that can be performed just within a main function, but it's not the best programming practice. The reason is this: in case when you see the result, let's say there is a problem in the division operation. So in that case, what do you need to do? You need to again go through all the lines of code from the main function until you find where there is an operation for the division. Then you will go and change things around to get the right result, right? So to avoid this problem in programming, especially in C++, there is a concept name called function has been introduced. So what is function? As I said earlier, function is a block of code that performs the specific task. So instead of writing the actual function here in the main function, we are going to have a separate block of code. Each those blocks will perform a specific task. For example, let's say here I'm going to write a function. In order to write a function, I hope you remember there is a syntax. So here is the syntax. So we are going to play with this syntax for the function. So let's say I'm going to create a separate block of code to perform the arithmetic operation. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function. Let me call this function as add, right? That is the name of the function name. So before, we need to have the return type. The return type is nothing but a data type, right? Here I'm going to have a return type as void. So it's going to be void and the name of the function is add. Then I say that this parameter is an optional one, so I don't want to have any parameter. Then inside I'm going to put this statement. So let me cut this one and paste them here. Do you remember the three important things that I was talking about when I was telling you about the function? First one is a function declaration, second one is a function definition, third one is a function calling. So this part here, the place where we are going to write the actual logic for the function is called function definition. So this part here is a definition. Okay, so this is function definition. Now you need to declare the function before you use. How to declare the function? We are going to use same function name with the return type. This is how we declare the function. This is a function name with the return type, right? We are just going to put the semicolon at the end. So this means function declaration. Okay, now this is a function declaration, this is a function definition. Now the next part is function calling. What does that mean, function calling? I said function calling is nothing but calling the function into the main function. So I'm sure that you know anything that you want to run, that one has to be written within the main function, right? Now I have the function name as add, but here I have not called this function. If you don't call this function within this main function, this function is not going to be executed. So in order to call this particular function into the main function, all you are going to do is you are just going to get the name of the function, not the return type, just name of the function is enough. So I'm going to put the name of the function here. I'm going to put the semicolon. Now I'm going to save this one and then I'm going to run this to see whether this program is working or not. It's giving me an error. What is the error? num1 was not declared in this scope. Now I'm going to talk about the local variable and the global variable part. So here I have declared two variable name called num1 and num2, right? So these two variables I have declared them just within this main function. So the main function starts here and it ends here. So the scope of this particular variable will be remain in this particular block of code. So this variable is called local variable. Why is it local variable? You can have access to these two variables only within this block. If you try to access the value of this variable num1 and num2 out of the scope, when I say out of the scope, out of this main function, the main function starts here and ends here. I have another function, this one has got a different scope, this function starts here and ends here, but I am trying to access the variable num1 and num2 out of this main function. So in that case I will not have the access to these two variable. In case if you want to have an access to these two variable, in that case these two variable needs to be declared as a global variable. What does that mean, global variable? Declaring a variable out of the main function is called global variable. So now what I am going to do, I'm just going to copy. Now I am going to comment this one so that it will not be considered by the compiler. So now I am going to declare these two variables as a global variable. If you want to declare a variable as a global variable, that variable has to be declared out of the function. So this one is a function, even this one is also a function. So global variable will be declared before the main function. So where is the main function? The main function starts here. Alright, I'm going to declare those two variables here. Now these two variables, we can call them as a global variable. So what is the use of declaring the variable as a global variable? When you declare a variable as a global variable, you will have access to these two variables everywhere in the function. It's not only going to be applicable only for this function or only for this function. As long as you declare a variable as a global variable, you can have access to those two variables anywhere in the program. Now when I run this one, you will see the program would work without any issues. As you can see them here, it is asking me to enter the values. I'm going to say 2 and the next number is 6. When I enter, still I can able to perform the addition as 8. Remember, this case I have not written the addition condition here within the main function. Instead I have created a separate function where I wrote the condition for this addition. So what is the use of this one? In case if you have got 100 function, let's say you have got 100 function and then you encounter an error in maybe is one of those function. Let's say you encounter an error in the multiplication function. Instead of checking the program everywhere, you are just going to check the function for the multiplication. So what is the benefit of that one? You will save a lot of time because you are just going to identify the exact problem at that exact function. So you can able to save a lot of time and then it will be very efficient. So it's not only for the add function, even for the subtraction you can do the same. So let's say if you want to perform a subtraction, you will create another function. Let me call this one as a void subtract. It's not necessarily a void, even it can put integer. Void means it will return nothing. That's the reason why I have used void. So let's say here I'm going to say subtraction. And then here I am going to say negative sign. Now since I have created a separate function for the subtraction, so there is no need for me to have this one. Instead I can just call this function. So what is the name of the function? The function name is sub. So you are trying to call the function. So this one is nothing but calling the function. When I save this one, let's see how does this one would look like. It's giving me an error. Why? Because sub was not declared in the scope. Now we have done the calling part, we have done the function definition. Now we have not declared this function. That is the reason why it's giving me an error. So we need to declare that one. So here again I'm going to declare that function void. What is the name of the function? Sub. And then put the semicolon at the end. When you save, this part is function declaration, this is function calling, this is function definition where we write the actual logic for the function. When I run this one, let's see how does this one would look like. Now it's working. 3, the next number is 8, the subtraction is negative 5. What does that mean? Even this function is working as expected. In case if you encounter an error in the subtraction, instead of checking the whole program, you will just go to the subtraction function, then you will correct the error. It will save you a lot of time. So this is a simple example, shows why we need functions or why we need function concept in programming. Now let us see the next example, how we can have the parameter in each of these function.